Hi everybody, it's Julie, also known as Jeremy and Daniel's mother, and I am recording this story for my boys. This was a story I used to read to you when you were little. We always called it the grandma story, and it was written by your great-great-grandmother and her great-aunt. So this is cool. You got a lot of family history here. Its technical title is When Grandma Was a Little Girl. I loved Grandma Hansen when I was a kid. Her home was one of the most fun places to go. And it was Grandma Hansen who wrote this. I was fortunate enough I got to meet two of my four great-grandparents, yeah. So this is just really a treat to be able to record it. And hopefully you guys will keep your copies so you can see the pictures that go along with it. And it starts with, in 1985, the inscription. It says, "To dearest Julie, with love from Grandma B, Bernice Lenora Hansen." So the first page has a picture of her 50th wedding anniversary with Grandpa Hansen, Irvin Hansen. And then pictures of her as a grown woman with her children, Irving and Bernice, your great-great-grandparents, and their children, left to right, Alfred Lee Hansen, we'll always hear us call him Uncle Al, and his twin sister, your great-grandma, Ann Hansen. Her name is actually Mary Ann. And Uncle Gene, which you probably remember from being a kid, Eugene Hansen, and then their parents. So this is my mother's mother who wrote this. Yeah. So again, it's called When Grandma Was a Little Girl. And this is chapter 1. This is a story for children, especially for my beloved grandchildren and their children and grandchildren. So we'll start with these magic words, once upon a time. So before we go any further, let's get the pillows out. Let's fluff up the blankets, because this was a bedtime story when you were little. Okay. So once upon a time, I hope you will learn many things from this story and learn how boys and girls of 80 years ago lived and played. I hope as this story unfolds, you will learn how important numbers are and how many great blessings of the world are free, just for the taking. The blessings are all around us. The story will go back 4 generations, and we will tell in parts of this book about your forebears. That means your grandparents or great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents and their folks. And again, this was written in 1985, so we're going back some family history here. I won't go into that now, as this particular part of the story will be about when Grandma was a little girl and we came to Laidlaw in Oregon and what happened there. Once upon a time, in fact, it was February 26, 1902. On a bleak, windswept prairie in eastern Washington, a baby girl came to live in a tar paper shack. The house was filled with many things. Papa was there, and Mama and Sister Jenny, Martha Jane, was there also. Although married, Sister Jenny came to help Mama in caring for the new baby. The big boys, Brothers Irwin and Brothers John, were there, and the little boys, Brother Malin and Brother Melvin, were there, and so were Sister Emily and Grandmother Everett. At the time of this new baby's arrival, all of the children were being cared for at Aunt Lucy's. So all the other children. Just to pause for a second, your Grandma Hansen was the youngest of 13 children. 1902, before the ages of birth control. Her older sister was there to help care for her, who was married and already had children of her own when she was born. That was, as you heard, Sister Jenny. Let's see. So the rest were at Aunt Lucy's. The most wonderful things filled the house. The most wonderful thing was love. Although the little baby who had just arrived was the 12th child, she was just as welcome as the 13th baby. Now, just before I said 13, and that's because one of the twins had died. The little baby girl was your very own grandmother, Bernice Lenora Couch. I was real plump, with lots of very black hair and shiny brown eyes. Mama and Papa could see from the very first that this baby was different from the other children. I was so plump that Papa nicknamed me Budge. I alone of all the children had brown eyes, because Mama had gray eyes and Papa had blue eyes, and all of the other children had blue or gray eyes also. I must tell you what a beautiful place I came to live in. Although February the weather was bleak and cold and snowy, spring was soon there. The rolling hills would be covered with the soft green of the young wheat. In the fall, the hills were a beautiful golden when it was ready for harvest. It seemed like the sunshine was pure gold, and the air was so fresh and pure that one felt like shouting and singing just for the pure joy of being alive. I must say before long that Papa built a nice house on our homestead, which was in Cunningham in Adams County, Washington. Papa plowed up the virgin soil, and he got into production and raised wonderful wheat crops. A homestead is a piece of land that the government gives one. That is, if you improve it, which means you must build a house and a barn and raise crops and live there for at least 7 years. Papa had many horses, cows, chickens, a dog, and cats. Later, Papa bought surrounding land and had a real big wheat farm. Near our homestead, there were other homesteads, many with little tar paper shanties on them. These were built of wood and then covered with black tar paper to make them warm. Of course, after people got settled, they would build nice houses, just like Papa did. Our home was on the highest rolling hill, and you could see many little houses from there. Out west seemed to be the place full of mystery, a fearful place. It was out west where the Russians lived. They were strange people, speaking a language we didn't understand, and many of them were big-bearded and rough-looking men. They would eat what we used to call Russian peanuts. However, now we call them sunflower seeds. This seemed very silly to the homesteaders, but now we know that sunflower seeds are a most valuable source of vitamins and can keep someone healthy. Many times the Russians would haul wheat by our place in below-zero weather. When they would stop to rest their horses, they would place their coats over the horses' steaming backs while they ate their lunch. Sister Emily, myself, and the little boys enjoyed many an adventure. West of our homestead was a silica mine. To my little girl's wondering eyes, it was like a big, gleaming white cave. Just wanted to pause for a second. You have to imagine all these little kids running around playing in a mine. Something that would happen often in 1902, not so much so now. We would go for long walks, picking prairie flowers and just enjoying the soft caresses of the dust coming up between our toes. We just couldn't wait for spring to come so we could take off our shoes and go barefoot. We would go without our shoes until it got too cold in the fall. I must tell you about my beloved brothers and sisters. The two oldest in the family were Sister Gertie and Sister Jenny. Then came the big boys, Brothers Redden, Brother George, Brother Irwin, and Brother John. Sister Emily was next, and then came the little boys, Brother Malin, Brother Melvin, and then myself, Bernice. Brother Wedden had a twin brother who lived only a short time after birth and then went to be with the Lord. Brother George was the hunter and the fisherman. He would go into the lakes and bring home lots of game, ducks, and fish. This was a great help to the family. Of course, Papa raised beef, pork, and chicken, but we also had no refrigerators then. Brother Irwin was a real talent for handling horses. Brother John was the merry one. He had ready wit and a zest for living. Brother Malin was a red-headed bronco buster. Brother Melvin loved music, and he played the violin and also the accordion. Sister Emily was Mama's helper and a joy to all. After Sister Emily's passing at the age of 16, I took on the responsibility of mother's helper at the age of 8, and I did the best I could for a child at that age. In February, when I was born, the big boys slept in a tent on straw mattresses because there wasn't room in the tar paper house for them. The pioneers used what was available. There was plenty of clean, fragrant straw right after the wheat was thrashed. Mother made a tick. That is like a bed-sized pillowcase, a very heavy material called ticking. This was filled with clean, sweet-smelling straw, and it was sewed together on the ends. This made for a springy, comfortable mattress. So even though there was some snow, the boys were comfortable and had plenty of warm covers. Oh yes, for a real heavenly bed, use a feather bed on top of a straw-filled mattress. The feather bed was made like the straw mattress, only it was filled with fine soft feathers of ducks, geese, or chickens. On a cold winter night, just lie down on the feather bed on top of a straw mattress. The soft feathers would come up all around you to keep you so warm. Let the wind blow and the coyotes howl. Just cuddle down and go to sleep, all safe at home. After Papa built the new house, though, nobody had to sleep outside in the tent anymore. After we were settled in our new house, and even had a pretty yellow rose out by the front porch, Papa was ready to move on. There was new worlds to be conquered, so Mama, as a dutiful wife, and maybe she loved pioneering too, was willing to move. I really don't know whether she loved it or endured it. If she endured it, she did it gracefully. So we went on to this new place, which I will tell you about in the next chapter. Although I was only 5 years old when I left the homestead, I have some very delightful memories of it. To me, the dirt was soft and lovely, and we children ran around in our bare feet, and the dirt came up between our toes just like the most lovely velvet. I'll never forget the waving wheat fields. They waved in the wind like the waves of the ocean, green, beautiful waves in the spring and beautiful golden waves in the fall. I've been back there, I think, altogether 3 times to visit the homestead since we left. I remember the little tar paper shack that they say I was born in. For those of you who have never seen a tar paper shack, it's quite a gloomy affair. It is black tar paper on the outside to keep the cold winds out. Believe me, in the country where I was born, it was cold in the winter and warm in the summer. You could see these bleak tar paper shacks in the landscape covered with snow. When we came home from somewhere one night, we passed a shack and it really did look cold and gloomy. The lamplight shed its golden glow, but the ground was covered with snow, and the little tar paper building there made a mighty gloomy picture in the cold landscape. I remember the back of our house. There was a shelf with Mama's soap making equipment. She always made her own soap. I don't know whether she had lye there, and I doubt if you know what. No, but they had to save fat for the soap. I was quite impressed about that. I remember a church where we went to worship. In later years, Mama and Papa stated that they'd actually helped to build 5 churches. They were on the Lord's side, and that they did what they could to be Christians wherever they were. I have a memory of something else that is very sweet, and it didn't come to me for years. I was visiting Brother Redden and his wife Grace one time in their home in Washington after I was grown, and in fact after my family was growing up, and there was a picture of Grace's mother and father. I said, "Grace, I remember that face. That's the sweetest face of your mother. I remember that she was most sweet and good to me. When my mother was sick or when Mama and Papa had gone somewhere, it was Grace's mother and father who took care of me. I picture their home as being full of sunshine and love. I just have that sweet memory." Papa had one of the first wells in that county. It was a deep-drilled well. It was 365 deep. The first 50 feet were dirt and the rest was solid rock. Water was pumped by a windmill. Papa sold water to people who came with big barrels on wagons. They would come from miles around to get water. I remember the wagons with the wooden barrels on tanks on the wagons. You see, people can't live without water. It's very important. I remember the view looking out over the wheat fields. I hadn't been at the homestead since I was 14, and once Irvin and I wanted to go and visit there, but we didn't know where to find it. We were told. When we got to a certain place, I looked up at the sky and the rounding of the hills. I said, "It was right here," because I do remember this. Well, that was the right place, and today it is a wonderfully big ranch. So I have a lot of nice memories about the homestead. That's the end of chapter 1. All right. See you next time. Have a lovely night and a lolly.